Hey guys, Tara here from Recurring Book Hoarder, and today we are going to wrap up the month of June. I can't believe June's over. I keep saying this year is just flying by. It is absolutely crazy how fast it's going. First, let me apologize for background noise because my washing machine is running, and I'm pretty sure you're gonna be able to hear it on here. And I have to have my fan on in my room, like my overhead fan, because it is pretty hot in Pittsburgh right now. Therefore, my room is quite hot. All right, so overall, this reading month was really all over the place. I had some really good reads. I had quite a few DNFs. I even had 2 1-star reads this month, which is not something I give out often because I typically DNF if it's that bad, but I kept through with these ones. So first, let's go through the picks that we had from my game, Recovering Book Hoarder's Game of Reading Round 3, which I will link up here if you would like to check that out. Our first roll was a book about the immigrant experience, and for that I chose The Last Story of Mina Lee by Nancy Ju-Yoon Kim, and definitely very strong about the immigrant experience, so I picked well with that. Ended up being 4 stars. It really delves into the relationship between a mother and a daughter. This one had a lot more mystery surrounding it, though, than I knew about or anticipated. So that was kind of a nice surprise. And yeah, overall, it was good. I would definitely recommend it. Okay, then we got Buzzword is what we landed on, and for that, the word was house. So I chose The House on Vesper Sands by Peric O'Donnell, and this was one of my 1-star reads. What a flop, man. I really expected this to be atmospheric, and seeing as The House at Vesper Sands was in the title, I really thought there was going to be a character that was like the house is a character, which is a trope I really like, and that was not really the case. We weren't really at Vesper Sands as much as I thought that we would be. I wound up listening to it and reading it physically. It was a mix of both. And yeah, it's very like reminiscent, that's a new word, very reminiscent of like a Sherlock Holmes novel, but not done as well. Like, that's how I felt about Devil in the Dark Water by Stuart, who is that by? God, the same one that wrote The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle. I'll put it up here on the screen. And that one was done much better than this one was. So yeah, disappointing. All right, then I landed on Specific Author, and this is one that I just never even got to this month. Gotta be honest, I'm kind of slumping this month somewhat, and just, yeah, had a hard time. And so the one I didn't get to pick up was Petals on the Wind by V.C. Andrews, and so this was just going to go back on the shelf for now. I'm not even going to carry it over or anything. Then I landed on Memoir and Biography, and this was also one of my most anticipated reads, and that was Brat, an 80s Story by Andrew McCarthy. This was my other 1-star for the month. I don't feel like this was promoted correctly. If you're going to name it Brat, then I am expecting you to tell me about your time as a member of the Brat Pack and like the making of those movies and things like that. And what I found out was he doesn't even really consider himself a member of the Brat Pack. And to be honest, there was 3 members of the Brat Pack that like straight up said that they didn't think of him as a member of the Brat Pack. And it's really much more like his life story and how he got into acting and stuff like that. And I like Andrew McCarthy and, you know, some of the movies he's been in. He's not like my favorite 80s actor. And so, in all honesty, I just really didn't care. I just wanted to read about the movies. So that was a huge disappointment. I just don't think it was promoted correctly. All right, then I had online or TV personality was the prompt. And for that I wrote, people I want to punch in the throat. Competitive Crafters Drop Off Despots and Other Suburban Scourges by Jen Mann, and she is a blogess. And this one was an awful lot of fun. I wound up giving it 4 stars. It really did. There were several parts where I absolutely laughed out loud. There is an audio for this, and I believe she reads it, which I think would be really good to listen to. That's not how I read it. I did read it physically, and it was funny. If you're looking for something fun to read, this would be a good one to pick up. And then our last role for the game was a book written by someone of a different race, ethnicity, or religion. And for that, I read Hamilton, The Revolution by Lin-Manuel Miranda. And this, I kept wanting to read I got this for my birthday, and I've been wanting to read it so badly and kept trying to get it on my list. Finally worked out this month. And this was a 5-star read. I loved this so much. I adore Hamilton. The music, it's like the worst earworm ever. Since I watched the show Hamilton, which was, I don't know, like January or February at this point, whenever it came out, I watched it like a month after it came out on Disney Plus. And I literally have not been able to get the songs out of my head since I watched it. It's primarily the only thing that my daughter and I listen to in the car right now. I listen to it constantly. I walk around singing it all the time. I adore the musical. I adore the music. So of course I adored this book, which gives all kinds of background about the writing of the show, the writing of the music. All the lyrics are in here. This book was everything. So if you love Hamilton, you really need to pick this book up. All right, moving into the wheels and what I spun on the wheels for last month. So for my 21 books in 2021, first we landed on the book David by Charles Swindoll, and this is an in-depth look at King David and all of the books in the Bible that discuss him. So this takes us through 1st and 2nd Samuel. This was good. I really like these. This is let me think. I read Job and Esther. So I think this is the 3rd one that I've read in the series. I have all except for the one that he wrote about Jesus, because all the rest I was able to get on Book Outlet, and that one wasn't on there. So I do need to get that. Now, of course, after I've read this, look, this poor copy, and it was large print. We know I hate large print, but I got through it. Ended up being 4 stars. It was good. And if you like in-depth Bible studies, I really, really recommend the series by Charles Swindoll. And the name of the series is Great Lives from God's Word. I think the total was 8. I believe there's 8 total. All right, then the other one that we landed on for that wheel was book 1 in the Lord of the Rings trilogy, Fellowship of the Rings. I absolutely adore the movies. Saw all of them whenever they came out, like went to the midnight showings. Have all of them, all the special editions, but I had never read it. I had attempted to listen to it at one point and had a hard time with that, but didn't want to give up on it altogether and decided I wanted to read it physically. So I purchased the books again, Book Outlet, got them really cheap. I wound up giving it 4 stars. Some of this writing is just really, it's beautiful. I love some of these descriptions. If I could be any magical creature, it would be a hobbit. I want to be a hobbit so bad. I want to live in a hobbit hole. And this book just absolutely confirmed that I belong in the Shire. So I liked it. My guess is I'll probably read the next 2 over the next 2 years. They'll end up on some kind of wheels moving forward. So that was good. I can finally say I have read book 1 of Lord of the Rings. All right, then on my 5-star predictions for the year, landed on All Things Bright and Beautiful by James Herriot. This is a book 2 in the All Creatures Great and Small series, and I was absolutely correct. This was a 5-star read. It was just as good as the first one. All the feels. You laugh out loud. I didn't cry in this one, I don't think. But you learn a lot more about his married life. It kind of like goes back and forth. You get to see when he was trying to court his wife, and then the hijinks that he gets up to as a vet. We meet a couple new characters in here that were really, really good, and I just adore James Herriot in this series, and I'm so happy this was a 5-star read. Okay, then the last wheel that we spun was my gifts wheel, and I landed on The Adventures of Pinocchio by Carlo Collodi. and this is the Mina Lima Illustrated Edition. I had never had any desire to read Pinocchio ever, gotta be honest, not one of my favorite Disney movies. However, I have been collecting these illustrated editions by Mina Lima, which is an illustrating duo, and I think that they're amazing. They are best known for their work on the Harry Potter series. One of the best illustrated editions of anything is the Sorcerer's Stone edition that they did this past year. And so I had to have this. So I did get it. Story-wise, art's beautiful, but story-wise, I did not love it. It was 2 stars. On the plus side, the chapters are very short. I really like short chapters. It says in here that it is like a political allegory. I don't get that part. To me, it's like a book about why kids need to listen to adults and the bad, terrible things that can happen if they choose not to do so. It's all right. It is what it is. As I was reading it, I thought to myself, you know, I have these amazing, wonderful, beautiful nieces, Ava and Livy, who I just love and adore so very much. And all of these classic editions, you know, they're meant for kids and they're just beautifully illustrated. And I've decided I need to stop hoarding them on above, like, can't reach them shelves, and I'm going to be moving them down so that they can look at them whenever they come over. Maybe we can read a little bit. And if they get ripped or whatnot, I think I have come to the conclusion that that's okay. Because the enjoyment that I think that they will bring to them and us together is worth more than a book that's not damaged. All right, so those were the wheels. Then moving into the book challenges that I've been doing for this year. The first one was from the Unread Shelf Challenge, and I will link that Instagram down below. The prompt was book bought on a spending spree. And for that, I chose Shepherd of Another Flock by David Wilburn, The Charming Tale of a New Vicar in a Yorkshire Country Town. This can go on my Tara Was Misinformed About What Books Are About shelf. I thought that this was fiction, and I thought that would be along the lines of like the Mitford series or the Butternut Creek series. I really like books, fiction books, about priests, pastors, vicars, anything like that. This is nonfiction, and I read the first 2 chapters and was not even remotely interested, so this was one of my DNFs. All right, then for the bonus prompt for this month was a book given to you that you didn't ask for, and for that I read Jesus for President by Shane Claiborne and Chris Haw. This was gifted to me from my sister-in-law, Leanne, and it was good. I think it's a very idealistic view. Like, okay, if you read this and look for, like, what can I do as an individual in regards to politics, living day to day, that kind of thing. All right. But to assume that society can be like this, it's very socialistic. There's some communistic themes in here, which, yeah, ended up being 3 stars. I got some good things from it. Like I said, there's some good stuff about like living in here. Ultimately, though, this group that wrote this, they live in a commune and have created like their own currency and things like that, and more power to them. I just didn't find it very practical. Right, then for the Buzzwordathon, word this month was a name or a title, and for that I went with the second book from the Call of the Midwife series by Jennifer Worth, Shadows of the Workhouse, and this was my other DNF. I expected this to be much more like the first book, which followed Jennifer Worth and her time as a midwife into these different homes and like the different cases she came in contact with. That's not what this is. This is stories about these kids that are now adults that grew up in the workhouse, and I had to stop reading in the chapter about Jane. There's some pretty intense child abuse in this, and I couldn't stomach it, and I couldn't get past it. And so I looked at the Goodreads reviews, and I'm under the impression it doesn't get a whole lot better moving forward in the book. And they said the third book is the darkest yet, and so I really don't have any desire to read that, so I'm not going to read past. So I DNF'd this. I will not be reading the third one either. They are leaving my house. For the Read Your Bookshelf Challenge, which is hosted by Chantal over at, I feel like it's the Intentional Reader. It's either an Intentional Reader or Intentional Life. I watch her channel all the time. You'd think I know this. I will link her down below. The prompt for this month was Animal on the Cover, and for that I chose I Can't Make This Up, Life Lessons by Kevin Hart. And this was a very surprising book for me because, like, I got it. I was like, all right, I'm sure this will be fine. Books by comedians are like very hit or miss for me. Typically, if I like them in stand-up, I do not like their books, and vice versa. If I don't like them in stand-up, their books end up being really good. Kevin Hart, I really love his stand-up, loved his book and his writing so much, and there really are some really great life lessons in here. It was funny, it was raw, there was some pretty intense language in here. It's not used like randomly though. It makes sense with the book. So as long as you're aware that there's the language in there, this book is absolutely worth it and really, really good. Just be prepared because it is raw. So that was a 5-star, in case I didn't say it. Right, then for April's book club over on Getting Hoga With It, the book was The Shadow of the Wind by Carlos Ruiz Zafón, and I was listening to that and I DNF'd it. Really didn't love it at all. And then I listened, like when I was like kind of on the fence about whether or not I wanted to continue with it, I listened to a podcast. I can't remember what the podcast is called. Oh, I'll link it down below. I'll put the name of the podcast down below. It's Overdue. It's called Overdue, something like that. But it's a podcast. There's these two guys, and they choose a book. One of them reads it. The other one reads it and then walks the other one through the book. So they have one about Shadow of the Wind, and I listened to that, and frankly, based on what they were saying, I really had no interest in continuing it either, and ended up not working out for April either. So I don't feel bad. Right, then for Krista's book club over on Books and Jams, the book this time was The Orphan Collector by Ellen Marie Wiseman, and I DNF'd this too. That's not to say that it wouldn't have been a good book, because it may have been. I just feel like I've read too many historicals recently that I just couldn't get into it. It just wasn't the right time to read it. So I'm not saying that you shouldn't read it. I'm not saying that it wasn't good. I don't know. Everybody that I saw that read it in the group really loved it. So let's go with what they say. I couldn't get into it. All right, then I did an exchange with Chrissy over at Chrissy Soul, who I will link her YouTube and her Instagram down below. And we decided to exchange 3 of our favorite books with the other one. She's reading like Tara and I'm reading like Chrissy. So we are reading those. We did one in June, I'll have one in July and one in August. And so for June, I read Covenant with the Vampire by Jean Calogridis. This is the Diaries of the Family Dracul, the dark sensual story never revealed in Dracula. And it ended up being a 3-star read. It is written in diary format, told from 3 different POVs, which I really like that. I like different POVs. I like when things are told in a journal or diary format. So that was probably my favorite part of the book. However, the part that I had the biggest issue with is it starts April 5th, 1845, and it ends like April 21st, same year. And so much happens in these, like, what is that, like 2-3 weeks, something like that. I had a really hard time buying it, that everything that happened in that amount of time. One of the main characters was quite blinded to what was going on, and they kind of explain in here that it's almost like he was like hypnotized, and so it would have been impossible for him to figure out what was going on or to believe other people, but like it was all right. Like I said, 3 stars. If you enjoy vampire tales and you like Dracula stuff, then you might want to give this one a read. All right, then my last book of the month was not on my TBR. It was a book I had started listening to several months ago, and that was Get a Life, Chloe Brown by Talia Hibbert. And I ended up giving this one 4 stars. Just be aware, it is quite graphically erotic. So if you don't like that, then you should skip this book. Outside of that, I really enjoyed the characters. I really, really loved Red, who is the love interest in here. He was like just the perfect artist man. Did I find the story believable? Not at all. Not at all. But it was fun. There's some really, really good body positive representation in here, and it was an enjoyable read. There is some strong language in this book as well, but it's not used gratuitously. It doesn't sound out of place. It just kind of fits with the characters. So that was my what month was this? That was June. And so yeah, kind of all over the place. Like I said, I had some really good reads. I feel like I had more flops though than I did really good. So anyway, how was your June reading? I would love to hear. Have you read anything that I read? I would like to know what you guys think. Did you agree with me? Do you think I'm totally off base with my thoughts? If you like what you see, don't forget to give this a thumbs up. If you want to see more from me, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. If you would like to connect with me other places, everywhere you can find me on the interwebs is down in the description box. And I will catch up with you guys later. Bye.